My project is provisionally titled My Treasure's Odyssey. It will be a substantial work of personal, creative, critical, non-fiction, interweaving life writing and critical analysis of art presented in creative prose. In 2017, while recovering from long term illness, I visited a friend who was teaching in Venice and we saw Damien Hirst's Treasures from the Wreck of the Unbelievable. It was a bombastic and excessive exhibition with the premise that many of the displayed pieces had been recovered from an ancient shipwreck in the Indian Ocean off the east coast of Africa. Many visitors became angry when they were told or concluded for themselves that it was a hoax. It is my view that it knowingly played on our ignorance of a wide range of cultural, scientific, and historical contexts, topics, and issues. The entrance text quoted from Shakespeare's The Tempest, a play whose action arises from a shipwreck. Many of the characters believe they survive, when it was only an illusion ordered but not made by Prospero to get them on the island. This was one of several early indications that the shipwreck was a plausible and pointed illusion, but to realise that early required some knowledge of Shakespeare and an understanding of wordplay and anagrams for the story's fictionality to reveal itself. Even for those who don't possess such knowledge or skills, there were many clues throughout the substantial show across two prestigious art venues, including the unmistakable figure of Mickey Mouse in one of the coral encrusted sculptures that had supposedly been resting on the ocean floor for 2,000 years. 10 years in the making, Treasures coincided with the emergence of Trumpian fake news, deepfakes, and a marked beginning in the recent explosion of conspiracy theories, including flat Earth, climate change denial, COVID disbelief, and anti vaccination misinformation facilitated by social media. My urgency to do something ambitious in the arts to demonstrate critical thinking through art writing has paralleled my own recovery from illness, with the research process doubling as an act of self-excavation and realization, and finding ways of communicating all of that shift away from but do not abandon my academic training. In compiling My Treasure's Odyssey, I plan to develop a personal, creative, critical writing practice that lays the research process bare, that communicates complex ideas and information in accessible, personable ways, and that experiments with art and exhibition writing that transcends review and analysis. Seeing this show revived my brain, largely due to the literary, film, and popular culture references throughout, but also because of the way the authoritative guide text by Amy Corey was laced with clues and misdirection in what could be considered as a mockumentary and gallery text format. On every level, the show was a pastiched adaptation of real-world marine archaeological exhibitions in global museums that drive tourist trade. The topics the show and its works encompass went far, wide, and deep, as well as marine archaeology, literature, film, and contemporary popular culture, as mentioned. Treasures from the Wreck of the Unbelievable presented talking points around staged underwater film and photography, ancient world history and mythology, adaptation and appropriation, including cultural appropriation, marine biology, coral and the ecological and climate crises, animal rights, art labour, materiality, storytelling and mashup or convergence culture, ethics, gender, sexuality, violence, authorship, collecting and the art market, and the big hitters of what we can even believe and what we can trust, verisimilitudes, how we define what is real and what is not real or fake. It further provokes questions around what is permitted to be legitimate art or literature and what happens when low or kitsch art forms are blended with high art, not just in sculptures but in referencing Shakespeare and Ovid alongside erotic exploitation sci-fi by William Burroughs, Robert Shea and Robert Anton Wilson. Solving the substantial puzzle this show presents requires an ambitious project, and I will use this post to do that in a manuscript for a creative non-fiction book. This opportunity comes at the optimum time for me. I have more clarity, cognition, and motivation than I've had in years and need only the resources and stability to realise my ambitions. The intricacy of Treasures from the Wreck of the Unbelievable reignited the intellectual curiosity I lost when my health broke down, and I began writing because of it after months of blockage. I researched the show, gave a paper at Lancaster University, and contributed an essay to a collection on theatricality and the arts, finally being published this year. In 2019, I felt I had enough materials for a book and began writing weekly blog posts as draft material. I published 24 posts and accumulated 40,000 words before hitting a blockage again in the first pandemic lockdown. I struggled to concentrate on a project that seemed frivolous in the face of such a grave global situation. I now see that it is not frivolous as it relates to many pressing issues facing humanity today, which have only escalated in the last 2 years. We're witnessing intensive social media usage that increased in the lockdowns and that is fostering the spread of harmful conspiracy theories and misinformation. There is a dichotomy of hatred and joy to be examined in and through Treasures that can help us understand and confront ourselves and how we engage with world events. We need to urgently address the ease with which many take offence at things that are not about them and feel perpetrated against without considering why they react the way they do. Is it my arts education and media literacy that meant I found the show funny and enjoyed it in the way I would a Mel Brooks or Adam McKay satire? Is it a lack of education and an unquestioning reverence for galleries and museums that allowed people to believe a show that was wry from its outset and they became angry when they were told it was a hoax? Was that injury rooted in ignorance, and did people lash out and project blame because they felt ashamed? Do we demand to be entertained only to grow angry if we perceive ourselves to be the butt of the joke? What is the psychology of all of this? And by understanding that, what changes can we make in ourselves to avoid feeling a sense of harm? In addressing such questions and more, this project will demonstrate the difference between a skeptical satire and a cynical hoax at a time when we've never needed to probe this more. It will also be a personal story of self-examination through art research and writing that further demonstrates how vital access to art and culture is in maintaining our well-being. The main compliments I get for my writing are that it makes the reader feel as if I'm saying the words directly to them and that they can clearly imagine what I describe. I want to take that to the next level and create accessible, creative non-fiction writing that can improve readers' media and arts literacy by inviting them to look closer and presenting information for them to find their own way and not prescribing my conclusions. I want to converge criticism and creative practice to show how the critical can be creative as much as the creative can be critical, and that researchers go on personal journeys in their work. I want to experiment with blending creative life writing and informed engagements with real works of art and elements of culture. As an educator, I am passionate about improving media literacy to empower others in thinking critically about the information that is created and disseminated by the full gamut of media outlets. My personal experience coming from a lower socioeconomic background is that working class people tend not to feel that culture is for them, a sentiment that often dovetails with anti-intellectualism. I work to demystify the arts to show that culture can and should be for anyone, and that storytelling and image making transcend elitist constructions of high and low art forms. I already have 40,000 words of draft work, the first 10,000 of which are attached as my writing sample. Much of this work has led to self excavation. I've learned who I am through close scrutiny of the Treasure show and its works. I know what excites me, what I feel open minded about, and where my lines are drawn. It also occurs to me that even though I did a PhD about it, there are still so many unknowns, secrets, and lies about the conflict in which I grew up. Liars are going to lie. It's the people who believe unquestioningly in those lies, and worse, the people who don't care enough to question, that trouble me. I want my work to be a clarion call to disrupt passive acceptance of official authoritative positions. Showing people how to do this work and how to enjoy it is paramount, and that taking responsibility for our own knowledge acquisition shouldn't be offensive or unsavory to us, but exciting and empowering for everyone. I'm going to create this work alone, but research and writing projects do not happen in a vacuum. I will need to bounce ideas off people, seek mentoring and feedback, and I'd like to share any skills and knowledge I acquire. The research will involve a lot of reading, namely of the exhibition's reference literary works, and updating my knowledge on coral, climate change, marine archaeology, museums and tourism, Venice, the art market, ancient world histories and mythologies, film and popular culture, sculpture and art materials and processes. I aim to conduct interviews with as many key players as I can access, such as Amy Corey, who wrote the exhibition guide, and Elena Guena, the show's curator, and daring to think big, even Hurst himself for the experience, or investigating if anyone from his company Science would speak. Some travel will be necessary, for example, to visit and learn more about Hurst's Newport Street Gallery in London, and to consult archives pertaining to past marine archaeology exhibitions at the British Museum and others shown in Paris and Cairo. It will also be beneficial to interview marine archaeologists and museum curators to learn about their work and the logistics of the real exhibitions. As well as project research, I will undertake training in art writing and self writing and creative nonfiction to develop style and tone as I compile the information needed to tell the story. I will take 6 months to refresh and add to the research I've already done. During this time, I would hit the writing gym hard to skill up with training courses on writing creative nonfiction and life writing to hone the personal creative critical blend I've been experimenting with to reveal the research and writing process, as well as examine the subject of the study. By early in the second year, I aim to have a working manuscript to edit and propose to publishers. The last few months in the second year will be vital in learning more about publishing, finding an agent, submitting pitches, proposals, and the manuscript to appropriate publishers, and securing image rights and learning more about marketing. To be accountable in timing, I propose making quarterly progress presentations to the team and organising occasional public panel discussions or workshops to tease out the complexities of art writing and non-fiction and conducting art research, for instance. In addition to producing an ambitious and publishable manuscript and supercharging my writing practice, the creative associate post will make me more employable as a worker and freelancer in the arts and culture sector. It will give me the confidence to keep taking bold approaches in my work, to train others in the future, and give me the space to help engender a more valued, collaborative culture of arts and exhibition writing. and giving me the chance to realise my full potential, both in myself and as part of a team striving for positive change. New Writing North will additionally strengthen my capability to pull others up with me.